resources for building a better life. I am Zennurgy. I'm your catalyst, coach, and conduit to that better life. You know, we all start off as a microscopic seed and egg. I know we all look like 5 foot, 6 foot somethings, but we started off with something as small as could be in your hand, in the palm of your hand. But unlike a tree, we don't grow automatically. We actually have to work at becoming what we want to become. And so, as I said, I'm Zennurgy. I am your catalyst, your coach, your conduit to that better life. A catalyst sparks change. A coach draws out hidden potential, and a conduit provides a connection. So today, I am connecting you with some amazing comedians. We have 4 comedians here. One is my co-host, the lady Kaye. She is a singing comedian. I've been working with her for 2 years, and we're going to talk about being amused and enthused. We're going to talk about the power of comedy to help you improve your life. That comedy and humor, a sense of humor, is key in life. You know, scientists say that it releases endorphins and it reduces stress. Stress is a killer if you didn't know that.
Yes, sir.
And endorphins make you feel good. Comedy can make you feel high.
This is true.
Naturally.
This is true.
Without any money. Just a great joke.
That's why I do it,
A
actually.
great joke.
I
But
don't know about that part.
we can definitely support our comics
Yes,
by
we
going
can.
to their shows,
Please.
by buying all their merch and things like that. But today, you're going to get to hear some comedy. You're going to get to release some of those endorphins. You're going to get to reduce that stress. And maybe you'll learn a little bit about, you know, how a sense of humor and cultivating a sense of humor can make your life better. Because, you know, one of the things they say about relationships is if you have a sense of humor, your relationship can last longer.
Yes,
So those of you that are, you know, having struggles in your, you know, relationship, maybe you just gotta relax a little, joke a little more, let things go, laugh things
Was that
off.
a shot at my ex, or what was that? Were you coming at my ex with that one? Or?
I don't know you well enough to come at your
Oh,
ex.
I just throwing it out there.
So, I'm going to introduce Lady Kaye, and like I said, she is the laughs to my lyrics. We started off with laughs and lyrics, and she is definitely the laughs of this whole duo. And so she's going to tell you a little bit about herself, give you a little bit of funny, and then introduce these other comics that we have, and we're going to learn a little bit about their life journeys as comedians. And I want you guys to tell your friends if they haven't already, tune in, because we're going to have some fun, and we're going to learn a little bit while we have some fun.
Oh, sugar now. Hey, y'all. Say y'all, it's your girl, Lady Kaye, in the building. Room. No, man. All right, y'all, all the way on Facebook. Y'all know what we doing. Y'all know what's up. Tune in. I'm going to go off live in a minute, and I'm going to share the podcast. So, look. Oh, man, I didn't mean to do that. I'm your girl, Lady Kaye, and I've been in the comedy game for about 6 years now. Next year in June will make 7 years, my golden year. So, hopefully before the end of this year, I'll be able to shoot I'm going to shoot a 30-minute special. I'm going to be the first. Shoot a half hour. I ain't got time to talk to y'all for a whole hour. Do a half hour, a half, and I ain't going to be on CP time either. I'm going to do 30 minutes. I'm going to sit down. But I'm going to have some amazing comedians open for me. All the people who have been a part of my career. So we're going to make it like a 2-day event where all my people cutting up. All my people, I've come in contact with so many comedians around the world, really. All the way in France, I've met so many people. Like, it's so crazy. Funny is universal. It really is universal. What you find funny is universal. It really is, and it helps. That's the endorphins. I'll tell you, laugh while you getting it on. That's the fun. That's the fun. That's the best laugh you get. Have you ever been going at it and fell off the bed together? That is hilarious. When you hit the floor, woo, and man, it just makes everything better. Laugh it off. Don't get mad. Laugh about it, and then keep it going, because that's the best way to roll off of something. So look, I didn't know who I wanted to go first because I'm meeting a new comedian. I've never met this young man before, and he's funny. I'm trying to figure out who's been snubbing you. Who have been snubbing you? Where have you been? Mr. James Trotter's on my left. Right next to him is the illustrious Mr. JULIUS FOGLE. We'd have been all the way to the middle of the country together, okay? We'd have been in the middle of nowhere making people laugh, okay?
Yeah.
And across the street, the only place we found black people was in the chicken shack across the street.
That was it.
And of course, man, I tell y'all, my African husband, I'm telling y'all, he in y'all. He came looking good for me and everything. I'm gonna turn the camera on him. He look good. Look at that chocolate drop over there.
Yeah, tell me it's brown chocolate in the building, baby.
He in the building, baby. Mr. DK. Hey,
What's up? How y'all doing?
Y'all know I say his last name because I've been when it cuss on the radio and I can't pronounce it.
Abanobi.
He said, I've been saying it right the whole time.
I'm not Abanobi. Abanobi.
See, I don't know how to do that there. Abanobi.
Don't do me like the white man do me. I had a white man call me Avengers one time. I said, how do you get Avengers from Abanobi? Come on.
See, I was saying Aboni.
You were saying you need to be in the movie. You wasn't trying to say your name. I need to find you a part. The Black Panther sidekick.
I got you.
Like
Avengers.
Mr. BK Avengers.
Oh my God.
That is messed up. That is messed up.
Yeah.
Oh man, we got the Chatty Bear tuned in live as well. You know how much he loves it. He was just with us last week. We were with last show. We were so excited to have him. So who wants to go first, gentlemen? Y'all gonna do paper, scissors, rock on live? Y'all gonna paper, scissors, rock it out? Who's gonna go first? Who's going first?
It's alright, I'll go first.
Oh,
Alright. So the thing about it, y'all, is this pandemic's been really hard on everybody. And I think one of the things that's been the hardest for me, I don't know about y'all, but is like the paranoia, because you're looking at everybody around you like, do you have it? Do you got it? Do you got it? Give it to me. And the worst thing about it is you always think you got it. And they always tell you that your taste buds are affected, right?
Yeah.
And so you take a bite of food and you don't know if you have it or if this person just can't cook. I'm over here telling my aunt, I was like, listen, you gotta start using seasoning in your food. This stuff made me think I have COVID. You make me think I'm going with this unseasoned food. You gotta do something. But dating's been hard. It's always, of course, for me, dating's always hard. People are, I just get very nervous around women. People like, James, how does somebody like you get nervous around women? You're a comedian. You're so funny. And I'm like, listen, man, I could ruin a heckler's life. I could send a heckler to therapy. You know what I mean? I can do my thing. But after a show's over, pretty girl comes up to me and she's like, James, that was amazing. I've never seen anything like that. You're amazing. And I look in her eyes and I go, oh. A pigeon noise, y'all. A beautiful woman tells me I'm amazing and I make a pigeon noise. And this is a true story. This is how bad it gets. This is a true story. I was walking in the Sprouts by my house, right? It's about 6 o'clock on a Monday evening. I'm walking in there and I see these two women out of my peripheral vision. I'm good, you're looking. I grab my card, I turn around, I see them head on. One of them's wearing like a red flannel shirt and jeans. The other one's wearing like a purple mini dress. They're very attractive and they're identical. And so before I can even think, I just automatically go, oh, you're twins. The one in the red flannel shirt looks me in my eye, takes a step towards me, reaches out her hands and starts tickling me. She starts tickling me. Yeah, so what would you do if an attractive stranger started tickling you in the middle of a grocery store?
Before after you
I would jump back because I'm not expecting anybody to put their hands on me, especially now.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah. And she starts going, she's like, what are you, Sherlock Holmes? Of course we're twins, you idiot, duh! Alright, now Julius, I know you're smooth with the ladies. What would you do if an attractive woman started tickling you?
How you know I'm smooth with them, man?
I know you a little bit. We don't know each other. Number one, the hat lets everybody know you're smooth with them. Yeah, we know each other a little bit. But what would you do? What would you do when an attractive woman started tickling you from a grocery store?
That's a tough one, man. I probably wonder what the hell is wrong with it.
Why ain't touching me?
I'll probably think I'm on some type of prank TV show or something. Like, where the cameras at? Somebody messing with me right now.
What about you, DK? What would you do if an attractive woman started tickling you in the middle of a grocery store?
I must know how from somewhere.
Was it what?
I must know how from somewhere.
No, somewhere, yeah. Anyway, most people have told me, since this happened, they've been like, James, you should have made your move, man. Like I said, I did not. I just grabbed my cart and walked into the grocery store. So I go over to the deli counter and I'm ordering my stuff. And she comes up behind me and she goes, you're just going to eat all that ham, aren't you, ham boy? You're going to get every slice of ham in this place. Still, I don't make my move. I go over to the produce. I'm looking at apples. She's like, what are you looking at those apples so closely for? She goes, just get them. They're all the same. Then after that, after her third attempt at with me giving her nothing back, not any response, she and her sister walked out of the grocery store, never to be seen again. Now, here's the thing, Here's the thing, is that after that happened, I told a bunch of friends that story, And they were all like, "Man, James, you really screwed that up. That girl could have been your soulmate." But that's not how I view it. That's not how I view it. Because what would happen, right? I would have gotten her phone number. We would start texting. Maybe we went on some dates. Really start to like each other. Maybe it gets real serious. And then one night, she comes home, and I'm sitting in there with the lights off. And she says, "James, why aren't the lights off? You startled me." I go, "Somebody saw you today." She goes, "What's that mean?" I said, "Someone saw you today at Kroger. You were tickling another man." Who you been tickling at grocery stores behind my back, huh? Where you been tickling these other men at? You been tickling other men at HEB? You been tickling other men at Whole Foods? Don't you tell me you've been tickling other men at Randall's. That's the only thing that can make this worse is if you were tickling other men at Randall's. Listen, baby, whenever we met, I know you tickled other men in other grocery stores before. But I thought I was going to be the last man you tickled in a grocery store. It's supposed to be you and me tickling each other at grocery stores for the rest of the time. And so then I went to the only place you can meet a normal person in the year 2020, back to Tinder. You know, that's where you gotta go. That's where you gotta
That's
go.
what they normal?
They can't reach to the screen and tickle you, you know. No, they're not normal. You're right, they're not normal. I saw a woman on there once, and she looked normal enough in her picture, but then in the About Me, she said, "I'm recently widowed. My husband died under very suspicious circumstances." And then she said, "Love drinking with my girls, watching movies, and my Texas football. Go JJ Watt." Now here's the thing, y'all. Is that the part of my brain that's invested in self-preservation was like, swipe her left. But the part of my brain that remembers how good I was at solving Scooby-Doo mysteries when I was a kid was like, swipe her right and solve the mystery of her dead husband, you know? And so she didn't swipe me back. I'm like, what, I'm not good looking enough for you to kill? Like, what's that or that? Well, I think one of the craziest things I ever saw on there, this is recent, is I saw a girl on there, and her About Me, she said, "Hey guys, I know that my pictures look kind of weird." She goes, "I grew up Amish. I was raised, in an Amish household, but then whenever I grew up, I decided I didn't want to live that lifestyle. It just didn't go far enough for me. I'm what you call a primitive lifer. I live in a cave. I only eat food that I gather or hunt myself. Only clothes I wear are from the skins of animals that I've killed. I'm just borrowing this phone to find a new guy." She goes, "My ex-boyfriend, he joined the Mars mission, one extreme to the other. And she goes, and so I'm just trying to meet a new guy." She goes, "Who wants to be my cave base? Swipe right." Now, I want to ask everybody again, so who here would be down? Who would here be down to be somebody's cave base? Lady Kay, would you be someone's cave base? Okay.
No.
DK, would you be someone? All right. Okay, but here's the thing, y'all. I thought similar to you, but here's the thing. Then I started thinking about how much money I've spent over the years on dates and presents. And you know what I mean? Like, so, you're sitting there, you're sitting there going, "Oh, I'd never go live in a cave with somebody." But then you think about when they bring you that bill at Trillfest on her birthday dinner, and you're just like, "This is how, why'd you have to get 2 desserts?
Right.
It's your birthday, 2 bottles? What?" I was like, listen, I can hunt down, a mule deer with a spear. So I don't have to do that ever again. But here's the problem, here's the thing about being with someone who lives in a cave, is that we'd be living out, doing our thing, and I'd be, eating a pronghorn haunch that she caught. I'm sitting there eating it, and I'd say, "Thunka, girl, I know that we're living out here away from everybody else. There's virtually no chance that you or I are going to contract coronavirus. But baby, you've got to learn how to season this stuff. You've got to learn a way to season this. I can't be eating this raw deer like this. You've got to find a way to season this stuff."
Oh my God.
And that's me.
Yo.
That's me, my caveman. This is over. She doesn't know that I'm here, y'all. I'm not allowed to be on podcasts. But I got to take my clothes off.
God.
Maybe I'll do that before I leave. And I got to get back to my cave bay.
Oh my God.
Okay, so I thought that I had some stories
No.
about online dating. You have trumped my online dating stories by like.
I want to hear your stories, Sid. Maybe not right now, but I want to hear your stories.
Oh my God.
I love online dating stories.
Oh my God.
I'm never going on Tinder. I don't even
Oh,
know. This girl doesn't know. Please
my
don't take me,
goodness.
man.
Wow, that is.
I'd rather be on Tinder than play Candy Crush,
Oh no, I play Candy Crush.
Look at that. That's a waste of time. You don't get nothing out of that.
What? I get.
But it's on Tinder, you get a chance.
It's still a game though, by the way. Tinder is still as much a game as Candy Crush is.
That's what I'm saying. But with Tinder, you can actually meet someone that is a chance. You can meet someone.
Yeah, that's true.
And then
might be a
yes,
case woman.
you know what I'm saying?
Who
But
might be a
Candy
case
Crush,
woman?
it's a waste of time. I don't get nothing. I don't meet nothing. Nobody give me nothing. I just play. And
Yeah,
then
it's a good point.
You gotta add yourself to a team and throw in the chat.
Another thing though about weird women I've seen on there's a girl and similar to the woman who murdered her husband. She looked normal enough. I clicked on her about me and she said, my ex shot me 5 times. I'm in a wheelchair right now. And she's like, hey, if anyone wants to meet up or whatever. And I take domestic violence very serious and that's a very big thing. That said, baby, like, if someone just shot you 5 times, maybe meeting strangers on the internet isn't for you right now.
Right.
Let's maybe just chill. Let's maybe take some steps back. Let's reflect on us. Don't be trying to meet somebody new while you were in a wheelchair recovering from being shot 5 times by a crazy man.
Oh my God.
Maybe meet somebody at church or maybe not. I don't know. But strangers on the internet, I think is a very bad idea for you right now. Yeah.
Oh
If
my
it does
God.
by you should.
Yeah. Let's not do that again. Come on.
That is wild. That
Oh
is
my
wild.
God.
I don't know where you got these profiles from. I've seen some strange profiles, but nothing in that category. Nothing on that. That's like that's the X-Files of strange.
What is
that's
the strangest one you've seen? Because I do think that
strangest one that I've seen.
women see stranger ones because men are so crazy just generally.
Yeah.
And then the internet's made crazy men even crazier.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, crazy men just like hung out in their basements, but now crazy men have access to the internet. So.
No, it's mostly. I've had a couple of guys basically proposition me like they were gigolos, and I laugh because I'm like, you do realize that women can get sex much easier than you can,
Right.
So why would you even be on here thinking anyone's gonna pay for this?
Oh, no, he must have
You
some
know. spectacular.
Or think they do. That's more.
Yeah, buddy.
You know how some folks think they just got that I know something.
I think they got the blue magic. Is that what you're talking about?
Dude.
DK, the blue
Yeah.
magic?
Huh?
You're talking about the blue
That's
magic?
when sometimes it comes with some type of ignorant too, like you don't. Sometimes depending on who you dealt with,
Yeah,
so you think all women are like this. I'm gonna talk, so it depends upbringing. Somebody's it depends too. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask you kind of about your comedy journey, and also you said that you do some improv. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, my journey is pretty interesting because I grew up in a really small town, and my parents are very nice people. They're very funny. My parents are very, very funny, but my parents are a little on the shy side. So my parents, when we talk about it, they're like, "Wow, that is something I would never ever do." they're like, "Good on you," 'cause, they're like, "That's definitely nothing we ever do." And so I wanted to do it ever since I was a kid. Like when I watch, my heroes on TV, and I was like, oh, whenever I get big, as soon as I get out of this small town, and it won't let to get into a club, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try it. And my journey was kind of interesting because my first one, because I walked into the club kind of anticipating that it was gonna, not go so well. I was like, this is one of those things in life. It's gonna take a while to get good at. But my first one went great, and then my second one went great. And then my third one went great, and I'm like, oh man, I'm the next Jerry Seinfeld, baby. I'm 23 years old. I'm killing it every show. And then my fourth one was a hard bomb. My fourth one was like crickets, and I was like, it's gonna take a while to get good at this. I'm not quite the natural that I thought I was. And so, but and I've learned that through the years of doing this and meeting other people who are new is that, anyone who is pretty funny, that anyone that maybe has an ability to do this, is they come up with 3 minutes of funny ideas in their life. It's coming up with that next 3 that kind of separates the people who really should be doing this from the people that shouldn't. And so, I've been doing it for quite some time and gotten, good at it. And about improvisation is definitely something that I do a lot of, and I lean on it a lot because it's something that I think is really something very special for the audience, And I don't do what you see a lot of comics do, where they say things like, "Oh, where are you from? How long have you been married? What do you do for a living?" That sort of, that kind of typical crowd work is not what I'm into because because it's almost scripted, particularly if you talk about people's physical appearances, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And where this idea really came from is I was watching a famous comedian whose name I won't say, who was doing, I was watching a YouTube video of him, and he was talking about people's appearances, and it was all just so typical, like it was almost scripted, you know? And I said to myself, what if I asked people questions like, who in here has ever traveled somewhere very far and seen something very strange? Who here has ever been awkwardly hit on? Who here has ever, who's here has ever worked at a really weird place? Who's ever had a very bizarre neighbor? And the audience tells me about it, and then I start doing jokes off of it. What I find is that, you know, to use a baseball analogy after our beloved Astros did not make the World Series last night, is that, DK, why'd you look down on those Astros, man? You're like, you don't back the Astros?
I'm not really sure if the Astros or the Texans, who's worse.
Oh,
I can't even be a fan of nobody.
The thing got no ring. We got at least a World Series.
I honestly want to be a fan. I just need somebody good. I mean, Houston, Texas, I need somebody to be good.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing that's funny is like, you know, to like move to a new place, and then you're like, hey, I'm gonna root for the local team. You go, man, these guys suck. What do you mean I root for them? Oh, come get out of here. And so I find that like if I don't know what's coming down the pipe, I can hit it way farther than if you know what's coming. And not to say that that's weak, because I know that, you know, I have respect for the craft, and I know that everybody does things their own way. But just for me, because I love improvising so much,
Me too.
is that as I
That's
really
literally my set. Like,
improvise. Yeah, I improvise.
Yeah.
Well, what's funny is I hadn't written for a really long time and just did improvised stuff, and then I started writing again because I needed the backup.
Yeah.
But what's happened a couple of times, I've been in the middle of a set and I've like transitioned from improvised stuff back into scripted, and then the audience is yelling, "Hey, go back to improvising. We don't want to hear the stuff you wrote." I was like,
wow.
Yeah, they were like, hey, go back to ripping. We don't want to hear your written stuff. I was like, all right. Yeah, that's happened like 3 or 4 times, and so I was like, so I really kind of keep it in the back pocket, or I try to keep it kind of brief and stuff. So yeah.
Wow.
But it's, you know, for me, and like I said, one thing about it. I don't really want other comedians stealing my stuff, but I do think that there's a lot of comedians out there who would be better at that if they would get themselves out of their comfort zone.
Right.
Because it's a very normal thing to be
That's
like.
with anything, though.
Yeah. But I like, you know, so many comedians are so, because the vibe is very different. You know, the vibe is very much like people, like audience members have told me, it's like it felt like I was at a party and my friend was being funny, rather than the fact that I don't know you and you got a microphone and we paid to be here, you know. And so
You're right about
the vibe is just different, but the vibe is very cool, and it definitely sets me apart, which is something I really like. So.
And it makes you more comfortable when you're on stage? Does it?
I wouldn't necessarily say more comfortable, but what I would say is I can feel like I'm getting bonus points from it, right? Because, you know, it's a lot of those improvised jokes, the audience probably wouldn't laugh at it if it was scripted.
Right.
The fact that that it was, you know, came off what somebody had just said. Because like one of my favorite, the one that's like my fail-safe, my ace up my sleeve, is say, who in here has a friend who's ever told you about a very unusual fetish? Like, who's ever told you about something that you were like, wow, you're into that? Please lose my number. Please don't ever talk to me. Again, that's like my ace in the hole. And a lot of those jokes I really can rocket them out of the park. But, you know, if I were to take that same setup and do it as like a scripted joke, people would be like, it wasn't that funny.
It would come off different.
Yeah, absolutely. People kind of credit you differently. You know, if it's improvised or if it's written. And so, you know.
Well, originality goes a long way, because when people hear something they've never heard before, they think about, wow, that was really clever. And it also makes it feel like a community.
Right.
Sure. Oh,
because
absolutely.
we in this room have one experience that nobody else in the world has, because we were here when it happened. And that's one thing about live shows that I love, because, you know, Kaye and I, we've done all these live shows, and there are things that'll happen. The audience will say something, Kaye will do something, I'll do something, people will ask you to do something. And it's that one experience that people be like, remember we were at that show and this happened, and everybody else is left out that wasn't there.
You
Because
can't recreate it.
you can't recreate it.
It's that
But it's
We
just
didn't have
that
shows like
we
this.
had some shows. We didn't have some shows, but it bonds people together, because they have that shared memory of this very unique experience that only happened because that particular group of people were in the room. And that's a really cool experience. And it also bonds like the performers together because they have not just the audience, but they have that shared experience of also feeling validated and valued. You know, like I had the freedom.
Sure.
To on this stage, I had the freedom to go with the audience and you know, because some places you don't have that kind of freedom. They want you, this is what you can say, this is what you can't say, you know, and you're very limited. We actually had to turn down a couple of shows because they were like, you can't talk about race, you can't talk about politics, you can't talk about sex, and we're like, what you want us to talk about?
Man.
This is live. We're not talking about radio. So I know you wanted to say something else.
Oh, sure. I was just going to say about that is it is for my shows particularly because you know the people are getting the ideas from them and it's their experience, but then for me as a comedian I turn around and turn it into something and I go off on tangents based off of it, and so I just totally agree with you. So it wasn't really a comment worth interrupting everything for, but
No, but I mean, what do you think comedy does for people? What have you seen it do? How do you think it helps them?
Oh, absolutely. So when I lived in Korea, I lived in South Korea for 3 years. Korea, that's what, yeah. Have you ever been?
I haven't been there though.
Oh, it's a good spot. It's a lot of fun. I always have a lot of fun over there. I became a much better comic over there because I was living in Austin. Like Austin, I didn't start in Austin, but that's kind of where I really got a lot more going. And you know, Austin, it's like, you know, open mic. Everyone there is a comic. You know, you get your 3 minutes, and if you go a second over, they turn your mic off and you know put you off stage. But then I went over there, and not only was it a room full of non-comics, they're like, "You want to do 15?" I was like, yeah, I can do 15." And so I over there, a woman came up to me, and I had never met her, and she told me that she was getting ready to go home, that her year in Korea was up, but that she had a really, really bad experience with homesickness, and she really didn't like it. She didn't really like being in Korea, but that me and some of the other people, our comedy was what kind of helped her get through and like made her not feel so homesick. And I'm sitting there, and she's like, yeah, going to the comedy shows every month was like one of the best parts of being over here. I was like, man, I wouldn't even say that, and I was in the comedy shows. I wouldn't even say, I was like, this is one of the best things for you? Really? It's like, my jokes are one of the best things that you have here?
You just never know.
Yeah, well, I was like, hey, hold on, did you go to the Imperial Palace, man? The Imperial Palace is better than like any of my jokes. Are you serious? I mean, that thing's thousands of years old.
You just never know when you're up there saying whatever you're saying. You're one person that would just stick with them forever, and you know,
and I think that one thing that is really true is that everyone's going through something. Yeah. And so, and everyone takes things differently. So for me, I loved being over there. I loved teaching those kids English. It was really fun. And I wasn't all that homesick. I love all my back home people. They're gonna be watching this, and everyone's gonna start commenting on this thing, going, "Oh, you were homesick, James? You didn't miss me?" No, I mean I missed everybody, but I was just okay with it. But she apparently was a little more homesick, and so it was nice to give her that little piece of home and all that. So
that's awesome. That's awesome.
All right.
Well, I know that comedy for me, one of the reasons why this show is called Laughs and Lyrics is because to me, comedy is like the best stress relief. It is when you start to laugh, you forget your problems for a little while and everything seems manageable.
Sure.
Because if you can laugh, it feels like you can get through whatever you're going through.
Oh yeah.
And what was really bugging you before you were laughing, it just doesn't seem as bad. Yeah. And for me, I always saw comedy as well as poetry and music as like almost a therapy. Yeah. And it helped me so much. I was like, I need to create a platform where people can come and get all these things at once. And you can hit all these different avenues of making people feel better. I would always say the first rule of the night is leave the outside. Because we're in here to enjoy ourselves. We're in here to relax. We're in here to refresh ourselves. So I'm gonna go back to Kaye, and she's gonna introduce another one of our comics.
See, I like that you said that, because we've been real leave the outside. Even before we get on the mic to introduce the rest of the people who are coming up after us, we have to really, really set the mood by making sure that our mood is right. So, like, we'll literally have a moment outside where we just shaking ourselves off and giving our jitters, and But like we really leave the outside, and because of that, we've never had a show where we had any kind of drama. Like not one time have we had a fight, nobody shooting up in anywhere, and we were literally doors down from a club they doing the most at. You remember when Flesh? I mean, every doggone weekend y'all got the police down here again. Y'all ain't went to jail. You ain't arrested everybody at HPD. You ain't took everybody to jail yet. You ain't did shit. Okay, all right. But we
that
here
club,
enjoying ourselves.
Like, hey, that club didn't have to be Fat Boys, did it?
Look, hey, listen.
Whenever we used to do those Fat Boys nights, well, the thing about Fat Boys is every show there'd be a fight, and then one night, the kitchen staff, there's a commotion in the kitchen, and we look back in there, and the kitchen staff was thrown down, not just like two of them, like all the kitchen staff was thrown down. And we're sitting there going, is that why my burger's taking so long? Because y'all in there beefing?
Yeah.
And like the whole kitchen staff went outside to go fight in the parking lot. I was like,
I was
like, man, it's gonna be a while on those wings, man.
Is that where I met you at, Fat Boy?
I don't think I ever saw you at Fat Boys. We met at that audition thing where I think they didn't like. I think you won. You won. You beat me, but I don't even think they ever took you on the tour. Like, so they didn't ever give you the prize.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, that's where I met you. I didn't know you. What did you ever do? I didn't know you did Fat Boys.
I did Fat Boys.
Who's hosting?
Blue the Comic.
I was about to say Blue the Comic back
That's
when
right,
I
because
needed
Blue's my good friend, and I
would.
would. Oh, you done Fat Boys too?
I have.
Oh.
I have indeed.
Oh my gosh. Well, I always get there late, so maybe
It was the waitresses.
And then one time Ben Jackson. Ben Jackson.
What?
Ben Jackson.
Yeah, I've been hosted it for a while. It was,
I didn't hear. You doing that now?
no.
That's what you know.
Oh no. Fat Boys is long gone.
Oh my God, I thought they closed on that.
So
the FBI shut them down. They needed a mediation.
Yeah, Fat Boys had a lot. One funny thing about Fat Boys, right, is that I was the only white person who would go there and perform and stuff, and so I was buddies with Blue and everybody, so they'd always make jokes about me being the owner. And then one night, an audience member comes to me and goes, "Man, that is so cool that you own this place and you also perform here." And I go, "I'm not the owner." He goes, "Really?" I go, "No, the owner's that Asian guy. No, I just perform here." Because they always say, "It's a joke. They're joking around." He goes, "Oh man, I just thought you were the owner." He goes, "I was getting ready to come over here and compliment you on the Blue Hawaiians."
Well, by all means, heard the great.
Gotta be the owner of the white guy.
Right. All right. So who we gonna go next?
It doesn't matter. Don't matter.
Don't matter. All right, I'm gonna eeny, meeny, miny, mo, y'all.
I'm doing next man.
You want to miss? Okay, well let me get you. Okay, because I didn't get to do my introduction for Mr. John, but because I ain't know what to say necessarily. Besides the fact that you literally kept me laughing. Besides, I mean, you're hilarious. All right, so this guy met me back when I was doing 2K comedy. Back when we was getting gypped for our lives. But we loved the craft so much that we kept going because we believed in ourselves, we believed in our purpose, we believed in what we were doing as far as making people laugh and enjoying people. So, then the first time I seen him, I was literally in the middle of nowhere, and dang, I don't even remember the name of this freaking club, but I was there for Jody now again, out in the middle of nowhere, somewhere out the backside of Bissonnette. It was retarded, it was ridiculous. And he got up there and he was like the funniest person on that night.
Talking about Beach Nut.
Yes, Beach Nut. Yes, that's what we met. And everybody was kind of bombing, and I'm just like, I was bored out of my mind. I went up there. I was good. I did my thing, but because I wasn't in the mood, I didn't feel like I was great. And then here comes DK. I had never heard him before, so I'm like, okay, all right, we got another. All right, and he got up there in the first few minutes. I said, what is he saying? Because he was like, I was like, what is he talking about? And then he got to this joke about MFs, and I was hooked from there. I followed him out to the parking lot, took his car, and said, you're funny. He stopped his car, he was like, what? I said, you're funny. And we stood there literally in the middle of the parking lot, almost cussing people out, go around us. Go around, we talking. They didn't even move the car, nothing. Stood there and talked for like a good 10-15 minutes while people have to go around and leave the parking lot. It was hilarious. So, we ain't in the audience, but we can clap, we can make a little noise like woo woo for my boy DK.
Yeah, we here live and direct, man, all the way from Africa. I know you can tell. I don't know why I always have to tell people I'm African. You just look at tell. Black and dark guy. Black and dark at the same time. But look, I'm glad to be here, man. Since the quarantine, I start trying out fast food. Normally I just go to like the African restaurant. they do slow food. You know, we don't do no fast food over there. Slow food, man. You go over there, order your food. Takes about 45 minutes or no. I went to one of the African restaurants the other time, right? I ordered my rice with plantain, right? The lady came out and told me, look, we have rice, but we don't have plantain. He said, well, I can give you money. You just go over there to HEB and buy the plantain. So you cook for you. I said, well, I'm already here. I might know why now. If I'm going to wait 45 minutes for my food, man, I'm going to go buy the goddamn plantain. I go over there HEB, I bought the plantain. I'm in the kitchen frying my own goddamn plantain. I didn't like that experience, but the food be good, you know. So, you know, I start trying out fast food, you know. Jimmy Jones. You guys know Jimmy Jones?
Yes.
I start ordering from Jimmy Jones. Reason I start ordering from Jimmy Jones because I saw the commercial on the TV. Jimmy Jones said, "Look, man, we deliver fast, right?" He said, "We deliver so fast. Before you place your order, we're gonna deliver your food." That's some fast food right there, right? So I'm like, "Look, I'm gonna try that." So I ordered Jimmy Jones. I said, "Hey, man, let me get some chicken." And I got a knock at the door. Somebody showed up with some chicken wings. I said, look, man, I wanted some chicken fried rice, okay? Like, you too fast. You know, oh, it was so fast, but, you know, that's what we get. But I'm glad, man. I'm glad to be here.
So, you know, I met you at Renee's on the Bayou. It was Poet Pimp's birthday.
Poet Pimp.
And, yeah, it was all poets.
He's fine, man.
And, yeah.
He's a character.
And then you came up and you started talking about West Belford.
Oh, okay.
How you could be on West Belford. All that, and then the MF that joke. And then you started talking about you didn't know about the speed limit. Oh my God!
Okay.
Okay, so you gotta do the West Belford.
You gotta do the speed
You
limit.
gotta do the West Belford and the speed limit.
That's why it's good. We have a host that can. If that was a live show, I would have been. You know what I'm saying? But I'm glad you brought that up. The reason I said that about that West Belford is first time I came here in the United States. Because, you know, in Africa, I didn't have a car. My dad had a car, but we didn't. You know, and we're not used to like the roads, the freeways, and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I came here for the first time. I had a car for the first time, so I was excited, you know. So I got on 288 freeway. I got on 288. I was going about 125 miles per hour, right? Because I thought 288 was the speed limit. I was speeding, going so fast, you know, like, so the police officer, right there, pulled me over. He said, man, you crazy? You going 125 miles on a 60. I'm like, no, officer, it says 288. I'm just managing at 125, right? So officer, he looked at me, he said, man, hey, you know, next freeway. He said, where are you from? By the way, I said, I'm from Nigeria, I just came. He said, man, you know the next freeway is 610, right? I said, man, that must be built for airplanes or something. I told him, I said, it is no way you're going to find me on 610, officer, I promised him. So after that incident, I just stay on 45 or I start in theater, man, that's it. I don't care where I'm going, man. I could be going to Dallas, Texas. I'm taking the theater all the way, bro. Or I take West Bedford. That's what West Bedford saved my life in the United States, man. West Bedford is the only street you can go from Highway 6 to Dallas, bro. Just all the way. I swear, man, West Bedford is so long. One time I was texting and driving just on West Bedford, right? Looked up, I saw myself all the way in Nigeria. West Bedford took me all the way in my village, bro. That's some good shit. You know, so
it's a magical road, bro.
It's a magical road. I can't look. When I get out of here, I'm getting, like my phone died right now. See, my phone is dead, so I don't know GPS. Get right there, get on West Bedford, all the way from the north side to the southwest.
Anywhere you want to go, man.
Huh?
Anywhere you want to go.
Man.
Get on the phone.
And then you said this joke about how your life in home was different and like from here, and you were contrasting like what life was like in your village. You were talking about like jail, you know. And
yeah, that's the thing. Cause you know, I grew up in a village. You know, my dad, my mom, they kind of struggled. You know, we were poor. We ate. That's all. You know, we ate. Like we ate. That's as good as it's gonna get. But we don't have that nice house. And my dad had like a 1960 something Volvo. I was like 35 years old, still driving, 3 tires, still going. My dad had 6 kids, right? And then all 6 of us used to lay in one bed, one king size bed, right? Just lay sideways, you know. And we ate pretty good. we had running water once in a while. It wasn't steady like here, electricity just, once a week, once a month when you get, So when I came here for the first time, I was at the airport, right? My paperwork wasn't right, so they took me to jail for the meantime. So right when I got to jail, the first thing they did was they fed us real good, I fed us, the cornbread was nice. And then they gave me my own space. I had my own space and everything, right? They gave me a blanket, bro. Man, they gave me a mattress and everything. Man, they had running water in jail, They had electricity was on, like AC and everything, bro. Man, they had cable, man. They had a flat screen TV. They had 48-inch TV, cable, bro. Chilling. I said, man, this is paradise, goddamn it. I called my mama. I said, Mama, I'm in America. Don't worry about me. I made it.
All the way up.
Right.
I made it all the way up, man. I'm eating 3 times a day. I got my own, man. You don't understand, man. Privacy, baby. That's the first time I have privacy. But yeah, that's it, man. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But it's quite an experience. On the real though, it's quite an experience because just the whole transition of growing up in Nigeria in a village like that and coming here, the language barrier of course was totally different. Like I said, how Americans respond to things like, especially Black Americans, from different slangs,
Yeah, I mean that is amazing. Yeah, I mean when I listened to you, I was like, wow, that is so funny, and just your experiences, things that we take for granted here, and like that take on jail just kind of blew my mind. I was like, wow, and so humor is everywhere in the world. So what do you think is like the power of humor? Like what makes laughing and a sense of humor like so important?
Well, it's either you're happy or you're sad. Mm-hmm. So happiness comes with laughter, and if you're sad, you're on the other side of the story what we're talking about. So I think comedy, laughter kind of comes with, it has perseverance in it. It really does have the perseverance you don't see. Personally, what I've gone through, coming all the way from home. I mean, I was a kid. I was like 9 years old, and I knew I wanted to do comedy because the guys ahead of me, I used to listen, and I really loved just them making us laugh. When I grew up in Nigeria, it was rough. It was really rough then. But so these guys, Nigerians are really good with entertainment, especially the ones back home, because it's just so much things to talk about. I mean, we talk about the police officers, what they do. It's just ridiculous and funny, right? Politicians, just our way of living is just really funny. So I looked up to most of those comedians growing up. So I used to do this at 8 years old or 9 years old when I was in a private school. I was supposed to be studying when I done. So I go inside the bush. I'll be making these audio tapes, audio comedies just for my classmates. So I can play for them during breaks, right? So I've been in the bush and I taped it up in a little cassette, and I play for them. They're all laughing. I'm like, damn, they're laughing. Making good grades, but I'm flunking at the end of the semester, I'm flunking, but I made it through the school, but I kind of like that, having that comedy in me. And I see even up to now, I've been in America, and I came here by myself. I have my uncles, but at the end of the day, uncles are different. You're on your own, So the things that I went through being a comedian, I actually had to laugh at most of the things. Kind of kept, like I said, comedy comes with perseverance, laughter, and everything. I remember I was driving a car one time. It was a raggedy car, right? It was a bad car. The car was smoking big time. Smoking so bad, I used to stop 3 times to put water in the thing so I can make it to work, right? Then she'd be out there smoking. And I bet everybody looking at me like probably laughing. But in my mind, I'm like, this shit is ridiculous. I'm like, nigga, what the fuck are you doing? Like, nigga, get your shit together, like that. You can't say nigga. Okay. But it's just the comedy part. It allows me to talk to myself through that tough time and just kind of be like, like, get your shit together, all right? Like, bro, all right, you gonna get your shit together? Yes, I will.
I totally agree with you. I think that it is, something, a gift that comedians have is like, it doesn't matter if you get your heart broken, if you get fired, whatever it is, as we just start cutting up. Because on the car thing, man, I had a car, it was my dad's car, man, this thing was a piece of junk. It was really, really messed up car. And it got hit a couple of times, Like, actually at the time, I was trying to do a comedy show at work because I had a crush on a girl in another department. And I was like, you always gotta like play to your strength, right? Because if you got a nice body, you find an excuse to take your shirt off. If you drive a nice car, you pull next to it at a light. But I'm chubby and my car looks like it's bitten by a T-Rex. So I was trying to show off what I had. But this car, someone had hit me, and then I had to use bungee cords to hold it down. And then whenever I would like stop downtown, people would walk by and pop my bungee cords, man, like it was a bra strap or something. And I was like, man, quit popping my cords, man. So I was really embarrassed, just like you. But I was like, hey, you just gotta keep living, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And then once you go through that, and then it comes with the success of everything, and it's part of it. And if you don't, you get stuck. I mean, kind of comedians, I think we can easily get depressed too.
Most comedians are depressed.
So
from what I've seen.
Yeah.
And that's how some of them find their way to doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the same thing with poets. I think that people who have to find art, life without art doesn't work for them. They don't know how to cope with their emotions. They don't know how to cope with stress. They have to find comedy, poetry, music. That's what helps them make sense of the world. Like, 'cause there are times for me, I literally have to download my brain. I have to put it down because too much happens up here. Too much happens up here. And I start getting lost in my thoughts. And then when I download my brain and I write it all down, then I can look at it and say, okay. Now it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Because at first it's like,
and I see why. I see how sometimes things happen. I see people take actions. Like I see people go shoot up their girlfriend and their kids and their babies. It has to do with something where you actually need to write some things down, get it off your mind. You know what I mean? Really, since the quarantine, I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna stop.
That's mental health.
Before mental health, right there. Before the quarantine hit, somebody need to address that really because why do people do this? But anyway. So quarantine, right? We couldn't do comedy no more, right? I was working. I'm a nurse. I go work. I come home. Like you said, in my mind, if I don't do nothing else, I'm losing it, right? Losing it. So I started doing these songs. Somebody pissed me off. I write something about it, and I write it. My girlfriend make me mad real quick. I'm not gonna pick up. Instead of picking up the phone, yelling at her, I write something. And you've been great. Go ahead. It's been great.
So we have music, we have improvisation, we have poetry, we have comedy, we have all of those things that help people cope. And I'm gonna tell you, even as a poet, comedy is a great addition because there are times when I hit little obstacles and I'm saying to myself, this is unexpected. I didn't see this coming. And it knocks me off my course. Like one time talking about online dating, I went on an online date. I got catfished.
Damn.
And it threw me off. I called her in the parking lot of Chili's, telling her, I just got catfished, Kaye. And she said, was he fine online? I said, yeah, girl. And she was like, looked at his picture, he was sexy and fine, got excited to meet him, and then I kept going with it. I created a poem out of it. So sometimes comedy and poetry can work together, and you can find a way to take, with music or find a way with whatever art to kind of put it together and make sense of it. Because I was a little traumatized until she made me laugh about that situation.
We were just talking about Poet Pimp. You said comedy and
right.
Poetry and comedy.
He does the whole set. He does stage doing poetry and comedy. And I like the way he does it, where he just do a set of poet and then he just do comedy. He just, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Mr.
You
Reverse.
just gotta love his energy, though.
Yeah.
That's what it really is.
Yeah.
That's what I noticed with him, was his energy.
I love the arts, and you were talking about mental health, so I'm gonna have Kaye introduce you next, because the thing about Zennurgy, the whole purpose, the reason why I started Zennurgy is because of quarantine, is because I found myself having to go inside. I found myself having to think about, what do I have control over? I don't have control over job situation, don't have control over politics, don't have control over COVID, but I do have control over this if I'm using it the right way. And I have to tap into those things that help me to use this and use this the right way, because if you don't, this can run away with you.
Yeah.
Your mind can go places, dark places.
You gotta be the soul controller.
Right. So I said to myself, okay, I'm not doing so well. I'm starting to watch the news too much. I'm starting to get worried too much. I'm starting to feel isolated too much. I'm doing too much in a bad way. I need to redirect. I need to redirect my energy, and I need to go and find those things that can help me, that I can control. You know, so it was about an urge for more peace, an urge for more centeredness. And then I was like, what do I actually have control of? And I went back to my childhood. What was the first thing I learned was the ABCs. And then I started saying, attitude. I can control my attitude. I can control, you know, my awareness of things. I can, you know, I started listing all these A words, you know, and then I went to the B's and the C's and the D's. And, and I made a whole alphabet. And so we're going through the alphabet right now. We're on amusement right now. The power of just laughing at stuff. Looking at the craziness in life, and instead of crying, choosing to laugh.
I was gonna say, how did you have all that time? But then I remember quarantine. To go
Yeah.
through the whole alphabet.
Well, I went through all the different things that, like, these were just things that are, and I didn't do it all in one day.
No, yeah, I was just joking around.
Yeah, I know, but I started writing these things down, and I was like, you know what, this is my toolbox. If I work on my attitude a little bit, if I work on my sense of humor a little bit, if I work on this, if I work on that, eventually I put it all together and my life is much better because I can control these things. I can either choose, you know, to laugh or cry about something. I can choose to go to YouTube and find a video. I can choose to tune into one of these guys, you know, or go to their shows when they have shows. I have choice. And so it just kind of made me say, okay, I do have some power over my mental health and over my attitude and my feelings because of what I put in. You know, I can control what I'm putting in, what I'm, you know, exposing myself to. And then I was like, if I need it, other people need it.
That's right.
And I can bring these people together who can talk about, you know, how they're using these different things, how they're moving through life, how they're coping with all this craziness around us, and actually not getting swallowed up in it, not getting dragged down by it, but rising above it. You know?
True.
And you know, I always feel like people are our greatest wealth. Because when I look at you, I can see myself. When I look at you, I can see myself. When I can be inspired by people that look just like me, people who have similar experiences as me, or people who have different experiences than me, and be like, I can learn from you because you come from a different place, but we still all human.
At the end of the day.
We still all human. We still all living in this US of A with these situations that we deal with. And so we all have to learn how to cope, you know? And so I want to go back to Kaye, and you're going to introduce our final guest today.
Yes, and this is quite an honor because a lot of the things that I've learned about life in general, and a lot of the things that I use even talking to other people and encouraging other people, I learned from JULIUS. Because when I am at my absolute worst, out of nowhere, he'll call me. What's up, man? Hey! And we'll just chop it up. And it doesn't matter what I tell him going on. At the end of the day, it's unavoidable. What are you worried about it for? You can't avoid suffering. It's life. It's a part of life. And after he told me that, I began to implement that in my life. When people would pass away, and when things would go wrong, when money would not be there that I need, all those different things, I would put it all up to, you know what, it's unavoidable, whatever. Throw it in the trash. All right, so let me get on this mic. Let me make people laugh because it's unavoidable. Suffering is going to be everywhere. Let me not add to the match of suffering. Let me change the game. Let me change the game for myself first because I'm in control. I'm in control of what I got going on. I can either choose to be here and be, oh man, it's hardly any gas in my car, and oh my love life is in the dumps, and blah 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 blah. Or I can choose to be like, you know what? I'm single. Ain't no gas in the car, so that means I'm not gonna drive over here to no nonsense. I'm going to the house. I ain't gonna talk to Daquan for 2 days. Okay, cool. Fine. My phone is all bent. I ain't got a bottle with nobody. It's unavoidable. So what you choose to do with your life what your decisions are in life, that's major on you at the end of the day. Like people, oh my God, he broke my self-esteem. How? He ruined how you think about yourself.
It's
Really?
called self-esteem.
Self-esteem.
Esteem of your fucking
Self, it is. And I mean, no
Big
truer
word in that-
statement
big
has
word
been
in that
said.
self.
That's
Mhm.
true.
That's
No
all,
truer
yeah.
statement has ever been said than that. It's your self-esteem, how you lift yourself up. How somebody else gonna tell you how to lift you up? How? I get called fat every day. I don't care. I don't care. I'm fat, you're ugly. What's up? What?
Yeah.
It has never stopped me. It has never stopped me from doing anything I want to accomplish. Nothing. It hasn't stopped me from doing much of nothing. I model, I act, I created my own avenue.
A word is mightier than a sword.
True.
Words are very powerful. Whether you tell it to yourself or somebody else tells it to you. That's why I'm very careful
Yeah.
who I tell my plan.
Yeah.
Who I tell when I finish my project, who I tell it to.
Oh
and I
yeah,
tell
don't do
everybody.
it. No,
So,
you can't.
Yeah, so.
Yeah,
word.
we are walking around here with some shit like this.
You'd be surprised on how some folks let other people's word affect them.
Oh, it can break you
They
down.
will.
If
They
you
will.
listen to it, you know. But like she was saying earlier too, it's basically you that control everything.
That's right.
Basically. And when you're looking at mental health, like we was talking about earlier, we're comprised of three, meaning what we feel, what we think, and what we do, our actions. So, you know, out of those three, two of them we have control of, or we don't have control of. You know, you can't control how you feel. If you feel like crap, you feel like crap.
Mhm.
You know, you can't control your thoughts. You're gonna have dreams. You're gonna have, you know, thoughts that pop up in your head. You can't control those also. But you can control what you do. But what happens most of the times is, if you feel like crap, you're having crappy thoughts, you're most likely your action, unless you learn how to separate those. And that's what a lot of times we do. We react out of emotion, and we'll say something or we'll do something that you can't take back. Because once you've heard something, once you say something, it's already done with, you know. So that's the biggest problem I see with a lot of people that deal with depression and stuff like that. They haven't learned themselves yet. And that's a big part. Once you know yourself,
Mhm.
you can like, even when you're talking about happiness, it's a personal choice. It's your responsibility. You know, nobody can make you happy. They can encourage it, they can do things to stimulate it, but really it's on you. So if you're not happy, you gotta ask yourself, why am I not happy? You know, and if you can't make yourself happy, how can you put that responsibility on somebody else?
Right.
Right.
You know, when you yourself can't do it.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
But I ain't getting too deep on here tonight. We're gonna be some jokes. It's gonna be some jokes tonight. So, but we're gonna have some real conversation though. So,
Of course. Some of my realest conversations have literally been with you. And you've been knowing me also since my 2K comedy days. Me,
Yep.
you, and Mom Malucci, man, we have been in some
Jody
spots.
Summers.
Jody, Rillos, man, Rillos done got Hollywood on us, you know what I'm saying? We ain't none of us, we've been here with him since the beginning. Any one of y'all been on their show? You didn't? Yeah, Rillos, I'm talking
I was
to
on
you.
one of the shows that he did a show. I can't remember where. I think it was near TSU.
No. I'm talking about the radio show
Oh,
he been doing.
no.
Ain't none of us been on the radio show? None of us. This is we talking to you, Rillos. I'm telling you now. Bump you, man. Bump you. I can't cuss, but bump you, dude. There. I said it. But we've been down with him since the very, very beginning. He is the reason why I started comedy, why I am who I am. Helped to mold that person. People like Jody, you know, taught you who not to be. People like what's my other guy? And I haven't heard from him in so long. And he was doing his thing for a while too out here, and he got sick Houston and left, I believe. But it was so many people who helped shape my stance and where I am today, because I don't care anymore. I don't care. Like, I picked up this drink called Don't Give a Fuck, and I ain't put it down since. So it makes my comedy that much more like in your face, because you don't know what I might say, because I don't care. What you gonna do, be mad? And what you gonna be? You gonna fight? Well, come on. What's up? So what you gonna say something stupid? I'm gonna say something stupid too. What's up? What you gonna do? I don't. You know, you gotta stop lying to people. All that kind of stuff is tied into who you become when you mature. And a lot of these gentlemen definitely helped me to become that. Helped me to be a stronger comedian, because they helped me to be in control of me at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? My first 3 years are nothing like the last 3 years at all of my career. And I'm talking about my first 3 years were the biggest. I was at the Catfish Festival. I'm in Vegas. I'm in New York. My first 3 years. And none of those sets were as good as the one I just did last night. Not one of them.
That's
You know what I'm
growth.
saying?
That's change. Well, we gotta say good night to DK.
Mhm.
He's got to head on now, but we're gonna come back and talk with Julius FOGLE. So everybody say.
All right, DK.
It was such an honor being the same radio with Julius FOGLE. Of course, look, Julius FOGLE, one of my guys. We've been to Minnesota doing this comedy thing, man. We've been all over.
I saw DK the first time I tried comedy. He was at the Improv.
Oh, the Improv?
It was you and Keenan Stewart.
Yeah, Keenan Stewart.
Okay,
now we're still gonna do that in Minnesota. I'm just trying to work some things out. First of all, sometimes you gotta find yourself to see what your what is before you step in. You know what I mean?
That's
and
right.
good to meet you, man, for the first time. You definitely got, man, you funny.
He is funny, bro. I was like, not ready.
I had to think about what about the white man, why coming and the men, that was a good one.
Yeah, that was, man, it's
Yeah.
real.
It was such a, I gotta actually get back to work tonight. I work with the old folks.
Oh.
Yeah,
man,
I'm actually working 10 to 6. I'm supposed to work 2 to 10 and 10 to 6, but just because of this, I took 2 to 10 off so I can be with y'all.
Aww.
Yeah, so I gotta go right there. The old folks, go get that medicine, baby.
I'm gonna be up there a little bit. Let me know
Be
where
careful. Be careful. Be safe.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Coming.
All right, man.
All
Good to
right.
meet you in person for sure.
Absolutely.
Yes.
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 All right.
Are you
I'll see
heard
again.
that?
Oh yeah. All right, man. Oh yeah.
Oh, make sure you get a shirt and some merchandise. Make sure you order online or whatever it is you would like to do to get some merch. But y'all already heard him start talking. He already got cerebral on y'all real quick. And I remember his name, Michael Fuller. He did Fat Boys as well, I believe. That's man, he was so low key. I wish he would have just got more out there because he did not like this because he just don't go in places. But that's it, Michael Fuller. And you know, of course, people like Felicia Chantel kept us all in the mix, and things like Cadillac kept us in the mix. Man, we'd have been some holes in the wall, boy. I tell you, man, some holes in the wall. The hole was the wall.
Grapevine.
Man, you
Where
hear
the
me?
hell where am I at?
In the middle of nowhere. We never heard of this place before. And there wasn't a single grape anywhere. Like, we're but y'all know, like I said, we ain't got no audience in here, but we can make a little whoop whoop for our boy Julius FOGLE.
What's up? Well, I'm gonna start at first of all, hope everybody is in good health, especially during this coronavirus pandemic. And things have been crazy since we've been during this coronavirus pandemic. But first, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about myself. I was in the Army 20 years. You know, I retired in 2010, and I was a boxer. You know, also for about 20 years. As an amateur professional. And people still ask me, "Well, you like you're in good shape? Why are you not boxing anymore?" I'm like, this gray in my beard isn't a clear indicator. I'll be 50 years old in less than a year. So. But the real reason is start getting my ass whipped. That was the reason enough right there. I mean, you start taking that. I'm not used to being on other people's highlight reel. So
Right.
that was probably the big reason why I started doing comedy. But another reason I started, I was dealing with depression, and one of the ways I dealt with it was writing, and started working on a book. Took about 2 years to publish, but even during the time that I was working on the book, that's when I started doing comedy. So, and it's the way that it's helped me out dramatically. Just mental health is something I'm real big on. Whether it's helping people out, just dealing with things that happened in the past. Sometimes they haven't admitted it, to themselves, and until you real with yourself, you're not gonna solve a lot of the issues that you're dealing with. During this pandemic, I've actually done some traveling. I'm not gonna let it just stop my life. I'm still gonna live, have fun. We doing this thing right now, having fun. So I went to New York earlier. Matter of fact, I was in New York this summer, and there's certain things I think that should be common sense. Like even before the coronavirus pandemic, you shouldn't have to tell anybody when you walk in the elevator to stand in one of the imaginary four corners.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like if somebody's in the elevator, you don't stand in the center of the elevator unless you're the only one in the elevator.
Right.
So I was in New York and I noticed that they had footprints for you to stand, to tell you where you're supposed to stand. I'm like, what motherfucker would walk in the, excuse me, what person would walk in the elevator and stand, if I'm in the elevator, stand in the center? And I thought about it. Donald Trump.
Yeah.
That sounds like something he would do, you know? And I'll be on the elevator, and as soon as the door open, I'll probably be like, get your orange ass out this elevator, you know? Because it's just, I spot him, kick him off the elevator, you know? But yeah, so it's just trying to make light of things instead of dwelling on it. There's certain things you control, certain things you can't control. But you know, your happiness is one of those things you control. So you got to learn how to, when you start seeing negative energy, you got to throw it off of you, you know, and get away from it. You know, because you will become part of that. You know, you will become, if it's bullshit somebody's throwing at you, you will eventually be part of it.
That's some good advice. That's definitely some good advice to be aware of what you're surrounding yourself with and move from the darkness or the negative energy
is
to the light.
Yeah.
And definitely be ready. And I think that what you were speaking about, sometimes people need to know when a season has changed. Sometimes people stay in a situation
reluctant to change.
Yeah. And it's good that you were able to say, okay, I had my season in the military, it's time to move on. I had my season as a boxer, it's time to move on. You know, I'm doing this comedy now, but I also want to incorporate writing. And I know that you also decided to go back to school.
Yes, I'm at TSU right now pursuing my master's degree in psychology. And that's been a unique experience, you know. Going around, being around a bunch of 20-year-olds, you know, and I'm gonna tell you some of this stuff these young ladies is wearing to school. I'm like, man, am I at the club or what, you know? But it's kind of crazy. But I was thinking about, somebody was telling me one time, would you go to like they had like a homecoming, you know, it was a lot of older people on campus, right? So I was thinking about it. Would I go to my 20-year reunion? And I thought about it for a second. I said, hell no. You know, just think about it. In 20 years, right now, I'm older than what some of these students are going to be, you know, in 20 years. You know what I'm saying? And when I decided to go back to college, I said, you know, I got to start taking care of myself, start getting back in shape. So I started working out and stuff, man, and I was kind of sore. So I put on some icy hot. So I'm in class, and one of these young ladies was like, oh, Professor Brown, it smells in here. Somebody got on some Bengay. She just kept going on and on and on about this shit. And it just got to me. I was like, it's not Bengay, it's icy hot. You know, so.
Oh,
you know, and that's one reason why I wouldn't go back to my 20-year reunion, because I could see myself at the 20-year reunion and that young lady walk up to me and like, hey, Mr. FOGLE, I didn't think you would still be here.
Hey, shut up.
And so, you know, when you get older, you don't get down what you say to people. I'll be like, you know what? I didn't like your ass back then. I still don't like your ass. You know, so you know, it's all about adapting. Well, evolving. That's what life. You know, we're an animal just like mammals and primates. We are evolving as time goes on. We're figuring out easier way to get things done more efficiently, and you know, we're evolving the same way. Some of those old ways of thinking we have to actually change also. You know, the same thing that worked in 1920 ain't gonna work in 2020.
That's
So
true.
it's all about evolving, and that's the first step in changing and evolving is understanding self and making change with self.
That sounds great. What do you think is the power of comedy, and do you think that comedy itself can help people to evolve?
Yes, I think one of the biggest things about being a comedian is you have to be able to laugh at yourself. See, if you can't laugh at yourself, you're not gonna be as effective, because when you go, a lot of times people that go to comedy shows, they're looking for relief. You know, life could kick you in the ass. You know, sometimes you just need that relief, and you're basically an actor when you're a comedian. You're painting that picture to the audience, and people can always look at somebody else at their problem or something that was painful to them and laugh at it, but they can't see themselves in it. So that's the difference between a comedian. They're able to extract things from their life and put a spin on it and make it funny and embellish it and make people laugh. And you know, that's where it also helps the person going through it also. You know, when you can talk about it now. And a lot of times people run from things and don't talk about things because it's painful. But when you can, like somebody, I told this to somebody one time, I said, you're not really over anything until you can laugh about it.
Wow, that's powerful. You know, there was a educator, and she said that books are mirrors and doors.
Mm-hmm.
I think the same thing with poetry and comedy. They're mirrors and doors. The mirror is sometimes you turn it on yourself first, and then you turn it on the audience so they can see themselves, and you're giving them a clear picture of what they really look like. You know, and I think that's why comedy is so powerful when it comes to like talking about society, because sometimes we get caught up in all of the riffraff and the hype and all of the, as you said, embellishment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's all this glitz and glamour, and we forget, you know, that they just put lipstick on a pig.
Right.
And comedy actually shows you, here's the pig.
Yeah.
You know, let's not worry about the lipstick. And it really turns that mirror around to society and says, look at yourself.
Right.
Look at yourself. Look at what you're doing. Is this really what you want to do? And as you're laughing, you know, I think it was Chris Rock that says you make them laugh and then they think about it later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then when they think about it, they're like, man, oh, okay. And it might cut a little bit later.
Right.
But you know, so I think that comedy, music, poetry, all of them, they are that mirror, but they're also a door, you know, because when you open a door, there's something on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And so comedy shows you like, here, open this door, you can walk through it, or you can choose to stay where you are, but there is something on the other side, you know.
Yeah.
Let's move on, let's move forward, let's move higher, let's step out this room and go on out and explore a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of the powers of comedy. Is there anything else you wanted to say to the audience to motivate them before we kind of wrap up?
Just you know, if you have a vision, make it happen. You know, I wrote a book about 3 years ago called The Last Round, and you know, a big part of it is just believing in yourself. Mm-hmm. You know, blocking negative energy. You know, because that's one thing where you have doubt. And one of the things I also learned is that a lot of people that's dealing with a lot of pain and hurt and depression have resentment. Mm. I wish I would have done this. If I'd have done this differently, if I could have done it all over again, I would do it this way. And that doesn't do us any good, because when I look at you, I look at Kaye, I look at James, I don't see no mistake in any of y'all. So everything that's happened to you in your lifetime was necessary for you to be who you are right now. So when you look at things like that, it's just, don't look at things as mistakes, look at them as experiences. And you know, you have a lot more better, you have a much more positive attitude when you look at things that way.
That sounds amazing. That sounds awesome. So I wanted to ask each of you where people can find you if they want to follow you, they want to tune into what you have coming up, you know. So how can they find you, Mr. FOGLE?
I am on Facebook and Instagram, Julius FOGLE, JULIUS FOGLE. My book, The Last Round, is on Amazon. So if you just put my name in there, it'll be easier to come up and put my name in if you put The Last Round, because there's a few books with the same name.
Yeah.
And for me, the best way to follow me is on Instagram. At Space Rhyme. It's the name of the organization I'm a part of. And so, yeah, I do lives on there every so often, post a lot of videos and stuff. So, yeah, it's the best place to follow me for sure.
At Space who?
Space Rhyme.
Spell it.
SPACERHYME.
Okay, I think I can.
And you, Lady Kaye, how can they find you?
You know, I ain't on that social media. I don't be on that social media. Y'all can find me on Facebook, Kaye Jones. Sorry, Kaye, because I'm extra, Jones, HARTS, until I make my new page. Or you can follow me on Instagram. That's the best place. Lady_KAYE 89. That's the best year that shot Reagan. It's great. It's fantastic. Watergate. Yeah. But that's a great year.
You know, the dude who shot Reagan, he went to my college. Yeah, and
No way.
Yeah, I was like, man, that's Red Raiders. We can't even kill the president, right, man? We can't even get that. We're losing these football games. The students are flunking. We can't even get a shot off of the president.
Man, I'm telling you, people don't care. People don't care, and I'm really, really shocked that this 4 years have went by and no one shot at him. No one? I said, really? No one? Not one drive-by? Come on.
You know
Come
he hides.
on,
You know
America.
he
You don't
hides.
need him like you say.
You know he hides in that bunker a lot, don't you?
Oh man, you know he do. He be
You
down
know, there were a
below.
lot. Whenever he did his little speech in front of the White House, I was like, man, you should have done it in the bunker, man.
Right.
That's what I always think of when I look at him. You know.
Come to you live from safety.
Yeah, he loves that bunker.
Come to see you live from safety.
So,
Wow.
And you know, one thing since you brought up Watergate real quick, one thing that's kind of wild, people don't know this, is that there was a night during Nixon's presidency, and he wasn't drunk, or people don't know if he was drunk or on drugs or something, but in the middle of the night, he and his valet and the Secret Service, they walked over to the Capitol building, and he went and sat in his old desk, and he told his little assistant to go up there and make a speech, and he like went up there and did the Pledge of Allegiance, and then they went to the Lincoln Memorial, and there were a bunch of Vietnam protesters, and they saw that the president was there, and they went over to talk to him, and he starts talking to them about their football team. Like, he was like, oh, where? He goes, oh, you go to Syracuse because they have a great football team and all this. And you know, the protesters like, we don't want to talk about football. We want to talk about the Vietnam War.
Right.
And the thing about it is, the difference between Nixon and Donald Trump have a lot of comparisons. The dishonesty, the shady campaign practices, believing that if the president does something, it means it's not illegal. But at least whenever the protesters come, Donald Trump went and hid in the bunker, and Richard Nixon walked up and started rambling incoherently about college football.
Right.
At least go up to the protesters and tell them about their football, and talk about their football team.
Don't say shoot us.
Yeah.
Don't say shoot us. And that was scary. That was really scary, protesting. It was terrifying because it wasn't like the president was going, amnesty for the protesters, police back up. No, he said, get them, shoot them, push them down, get the water hoses, find the dogs, get those sorry sons of it. We were like, wait a minute, we just want justice. Hold on, sir, whoa, president, raise his hand. Excuse me, are you talking about me? I didn't hurt nobody. I didn't burn nothing. I didn't spray paint nothing. I was just asking for justice. Excuse me, sir. Does that apply to me? I just want to know. You talking about them over there? Them, yeah, all them. That whole group, they was over there doing that. You can shoot them, them over there. Yeah, hit them upside the head with a billy stick. I wasn't doing that, sir. I was just standing here saying, please, can we have some justice? Just
You were there? You were the one in D.C.?
What?
No.
I have been on the front line of the protest since April 22nd. Really since before that, but it really got personal. April 22nd, right here in Houston, Texas, a friend of mine, myself, and Felicia Chantel was shot and killed by an undercover and a Gulf Task police officer or whatever. And apparently this guy has done this before. He has a terrible record of brutality, not just against minorities other than black. And they tried to hide his name. They were hiding his face. They didn't want to give us any information. And we literally had to get a congressman to fly down here. He's been flying back and forth between here and Washington, D.C. We had worked hand in hand with Kim Oggs and Ed Gonzalez trying to get justice for the situation. And you would not believe the walls we keep hitting. Sure, and they know they're wrong. They killed the wrong guy. Yeah. And then instead of rendering aid, we have video that he left the scene and came back with someone else to verify his story. All the evidence that we recorded, we had to do our own investigation. They didn't even do an investigation. They didn't do all that stuff. It was crazy, and they started messing with our Facebook pages. They started the other guy, Mr. James Hudson, he was on live, and we were trying to watch the press conference, and they kept like flickering on and off, and it was just all kind of crazy stuff. It kept going dark, and I'm like, man, they watching. They watching. You might not believe that a small step toward forward is noticed, but at the end of the day, what taught me that even little bitty me is looked at like an ant. If you ever watch a Bug's Life, they were showing you, first of all, one ant can make if this one ant influences the rest of these freaking ants to kick our butts, guess what? We don't get food anymore. So if one person can have the power to affect change, and I mean greatly affect change, whether you right here in this room, or you the president of the United States, or the president of Korea, or the president in Japan, or wherever you are, if you are one person and you have the power to affect change, I think that's another reason why I stayed in comedy, because I realized that some of my jokes, that even if I turned it, had the power to affect change. Even if it's about giving head or something. I really someone has literally walked up and told me, yo, I think you might have saved my marriage because I don't like the idea idea of bowing on my knees to give my man whatever. So I make a joke about standing on the bed. Stand up there. Hey, stand up there on the bed. I'll give it to you up there. Go ahead. I just don't want
You know, I've always wanted to date a midget so I can experience it when we get married. I've always wanted.
Got
Wow.
this on your hit list?
I've always wanted to.
Yeah, oh man. Oh my goodness. But
Well,
Yeah,
we're
so-
gonna wrap up. I mean, you know, the
It
thing
goes on
about
the
live
midget
is it just goes where it goes. But
It
the
does.
thing about comedy and poetry and music is it gives you that motivation
it does.
to improve your life. And
Absolutely.
we wanted to get together to talk about the power of a sense of humor, to talk about the power of laughter, to talk about just the power of a positive attitude. Because while we are here dealing with whatever we're dealing with, we still have so much control over our thinking, over the environment that we put ourselves in, over the things that we expose ourselves to. And that's really what Zennurgy is all about. Small changes, big results. So you do have my link tree there, Zennurgy Poetry. You can find me. I'm Zennurgy on Facebook at ZENASE or Zennurgy Poetry. You can also find Zennurgy. It's spelled ZENNURGY. The urge for more Zen, the urge for positive change in your life. And we want to thank you for joining us. We hope that you enjoyed the laughs, you enjoyed the thoughtfulness. You know, we had Julius FOGLE here, we had James Trotter, DK Abanobi had to leave, but we got Kaye Jones Hearts, Lady K, and I am Zennurgy, and may you walk in Zennurgy. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Peace.
Peace.